All right, I'm back in the shop again. So this is part 11 of the high voltage 10 build. Just last time we put all the inlets in. I'll just give you a quick look. So there was the upper inlet for the NACA duct that puts air into it. There's the opening. Let's see what was the other piece we did here. Oh. I carefully open this up. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's the outlet. There's the outlet hole that comes through there, and also I'm able to put the timer in here too. So my timer will sit right in the airflow and come out. While off camera, I sanded out the entire plane, fixed the little spots that I didn't love. All the silver's been pretty much sanded off, and now we're on to the fillets. Today I'm going to do the fillets. This is the last piece of really the construction before you go into the fine finishing. So I'm going to show you how I do the fillets using Superfill. Yeah, this is like the last piece, and then once the fillets are done and I'll lightly sand the fillets in, we'll be ready for a coat of silver, and then we start the finishing process where we're going to sand silver out, probably put some more silver on and sand silver out. So the fun. And just for a note, when I sand silver or I sand a lot, I like to put on some videos. Windy's always good. Listening to some of his videos over and over again. Dan Winship, also some good stuff, and Sparky as well. So kind of just helps pass the time than just sitting there. So one of my flying buddies sent me a text the other day, and he said, you said thick CA and the bottle was blue. So if you look, my bottle happens to be blue, which is the thin CA, but if you read it, it says gap filling on it with a piece of masking tape. That's because I have a big bottle of 8 ounce, and I just put it into a more manageable container. So, but hey, at least somebody's paying attention and trying to keep me honest. So thanks. All right. So I use Superfill. You can get this from a couple of different places. Spruce Aircraft is one. Wix. There's a couple different places you can get it from. But really good stuff. Very light. Pretty easy to work with. We mix it 2 to 1. And what I recommend is I wear gloves because I can't stand the feel of this once it's on you. This and epoxy are the 2 worst things, I think, for me anyway. It's funny, Superfill smells like peanut butter. So, and we're going to mix it, it's like kind of peanut butter consistency. So, alright, so what I do is I take a cleaned off scraper and I just kind of make sure I mix it up good. And you need to have paper towels handy and alcohol. Because the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to mix part A, mix part A with something and then stick it into part B. You could have a hardness problem. Alright, so I wipe it off. And yeah, B looks pretty. I started this up a couple weeks ago, so I'm pretty good. Alright, so it's 2 to 1 by volume. So what I'll do is, using a 3 ounce cup. Just before we get to that, so how I do fillets, I'll use a syringe. This happens to be a 20 cc syringe. And I'll take it and I'll load it full of Superfill and I'll run it, just along the seam, right? Just making sure I get it evenly, not overshooting it. Some guys like to tape it up. You can definitely run tape on both sides, leaving a little bit, and then fill into the tape. You can do that. I'm trying to do it without tape. For me, I always end up with a ridge on that tape line, and it just makes me crazy. So it could just be me. All right, so the other tool you're gonna need is you have a little ball bearing glued onto stick. You can get these already made from Jim Lee. Those who haven't used Jim Lee make great stuff. Great guy to deal with. Just all around good modeling stunt guy, and makes a lot of good stuff. But in this case, I like small fillets, so I'll be using the smallest one. I'll be using the 1/4 inch one. And again, what I'll do is make sure it's clean, and I'll just wipe this along, and then take alcohol and a paper towel and wipe it clean. Again, you've got to have paper towels pretty accessible in your shop. You need them all the time. So I'm just going to lay a couple out, and I got a jar of alcohol here. Yep. All right, so we'll get to mixing some stuff up here. All right, I do want a popsicle here. We're getting down to the time of the build where the shop is what I call in thrash mode, I guess, where you're kind of getting some things done, you're finishing stuff up, and you just don't want to clean the shop up just yet. Although you probably need to. So I'll just take a little bit of the blue. And the cup I'm using just happens to be a 3-ounce cup. All right, so I got 6 grams in there. So, sorry, these are actually 3 fluid ounce cups. You can get them at any supermarket. Just really good to have for mixing epoxy, resin, whatever you need to mix with it. All right, so I got 3 grams, so that means I need 6 grams means I need 3 grams of the white. Oh, look at that! On the money. I should have enough to do what I need to do. And I always just keep these things sealed up good. But I've had this for a couple of years, and you get the jars like this will last quite some time. You could build many planes with these. I use so little of this, I really use it for fillets. But again, it's good for filling too if you got to fill a spot here or there. Alright, so now we got it. Now we got to mix it up. This is the key, mixing it. And making sure you incorporate everything in it. So just take your time and mix it up. So here in the Northeast, it's been pretty cold and really windy and rainy the last couple of weeks. And even today, it's about 50 degrees, but the wind's blowing probably 15, 20 miles an hour. So it's getting to be that time of year we get the itch when you want to get out and fly, but just really not flyable weather. And not fun weather, too. When it gets to be about 50 degrees and the wind's blowing, it's really not a lot of super amount of fun. Unless you got to do something, unless you have no choice to get out and practice, then I don't. I usually like it to be about 50 degrees and reasonable, wind-wise. And even for painting, like I have to paint out, I fortunately have to paint outside. And I do have a repaired plane I need to clear. I just haven't had a chance to get to it. And again, I want to clear it, but I also got to take my time and do the clear right so I don't run it or add on additional clear that I don't need. And when the wind is blowing, it's just a little more challenging. So hopefully tomorrow I'll get to clear that one, but we'll see. Alright, so I get these syringes and just pull the end out. So here. And I'll take the popsicle stick and I will load the syringe. And these syringes are cheap. You can get them off Amazon, get a package of 50, 60, 100 of them. If you got friends who work EMTs or doctors or nurses, I'm sure you can get them, on the arm. But the rest of us can just get them from Amazon. And fillets are just one of those things you got to just take your time, not rush through it. And you really just got to get it pretty much as right as you want, because sand and fillets are a real pain to be able to get that in there. But when you do them right, they look cool. But I like very small fillets. I'm not a big fillet guy. Some guys like big, large fillets. Not for me. Anything is keeping paint on the fillet area, sometimes a pain. Usually one of the first areas that cracks through. Alright, so we mix that up. Now I'll put the syringe. So the one thing you want to have your hands as clean as you possibly can while you do this, because you're going to touch the plane, and if you have any of this stuff on your hands or fingers, ends up on the plane. You have little fingerprint marks. And again, a little alcohol takes it right off. So you don't even notice it. You get some on your finger and you put it on, like you pick it up by the tail or something, and then as soon as you go to paint it, you didn't feel it, and guess what? You have this big blotchy thing pop up. All right. So just make sure everything's cleaned off pretty good. And you do a Windex or a little alcohol on a rag. You just want to make sure there's no, because if there's dust in there or something, you will, you could have an adherence problem. So I kind of just wipe it, see, you look, end up with some schmutz on it. Alright. So let's see how we do here. Okay, not bad. And you just want to resist the urge to put your finger in it. Believe me, what I like to do is just wet the end of this with a little bit of alcohol. Alright, let's see how well it wipes. I just want to get down back around the back by the horn. See, there's a spot you don't like. You just can run some more in there. Just draw it back a little bit so you don't get the run out. So you got a little glob here, so I'm just going to work in with this piece here. All right. How well you can see it. You see, right in there, perfect. Not a lot, not a little. Just to take your time with it. All right, so now we'll move on to the stab. Just point the camera down a little bit. Okay. And you could also cut the opening of the syringe to get it to the gap you want. I mean, I like small ones, so the gap I'm using is just about right. Just constantly cleaning the bowl. A little bit of alcohol and also then thins out the superfill slightly and allows it to glide. Okay. Again, I don't know how well you can really see it, but if you look, nice clean line. All right. I also got to do the rudder area, which I'll do. I'll put on those on my stand. Oop. All right. Just trying to force some into that horn area. And again, just keeping the bowl really clean helps too, because it just keeps cutting some off. And again, you can use tape. You know, some guys like to use tape, or majority of people like to use tape. And just put little pieces on it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. In this area, I just want to fill it in around the horn and make it look finished. Okay. All right, let's. All right, now we're going to do this side here. Okay. All right. You have to resist the urge to want to run your finger through it. I think we all want to do that. All right, so I cut about in half, and I'll just go forward, come forward with it, and again, take a small cut out of it. Yep. Oh, missed the spot. gonna put a little bit more in the front. Got a little late with the stuff. And there's a spot in the back here I don't love. And also it's good to have a squeegee around too, just in case you want to clean up a little bit of a spot that you don't like. Like just above the fillet there was a spot I didn't love. Again, a little bit of alcohol on it, clean it off. The spot there I just didn't like in the back. What we'll do is take this. Okay. Not bad. And I always like to have a junky shirt on too, so I can wipe it on sometimes. Just a little tail I want to get rid of here. Okay. And again, just keeping this thing clean. Alright, so that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. I do want to work on the horn area a little bit back there. You know, that's just one of those areas that you can really tell how much work went into something. Just kind of finishing, give it that finished look. And when I'm done with the fillets here, what I'll do is take a primer and just shoot 1 or 2 coats over the fillet areas, and then just lightly sand in it just to finish it up. But what's nice about the super fillet, it gets this real shiny as it starts to harden. It kind of lays down a little bit, so it's pretty good like that. All right, now we're going to flip it over and do the bottom. So same procedure. Again, try to make sure your hands are clean because you don't want to end up with fingerprints that you got to sand out later. So far, we're pretty much on track weight-wise. Should be about a 62 ounce, 63 ounce plane, somewhere in that range. So I'm pretty happy with it so far. You know, as we build these things, we continue to search for what I call perfection. And obviously, some of the process I use, and I think I can get some more weight out of it without sacrificing integrity. You know, looking at things like the wing, I think I could shave 1 ounce out of the wing. The fuselage, probably another 1/2 ounce. The tail, maybe 1/4, right? You know, especially with the composite stuff, you figure out what's the right amount of resin in there, really, because the resin carries the weight. And, you know, things would fit up and make sure the fit ups are right. The better fit up, the less things you got to need in there to make it right. All right. Alright, so now we're going to fill this in. And again, this is one of the times you just got to take your time and take your time, because if the fillet's too big or there's a line in it or something, ooh, it's not even coming out. You know, it's really hard to sand in because you go from On this case, it's kind of not really the same density, but a lot of times you'll go from like balsa to like the superfill, and the superfill is harder. So it does a little bit harder to sand that line and clean without digging into the balsa structure. And that's like forever. Used to, like I said, these fillets used to drive me crazy. Because you sand them, and then you get it right, then you dig into the wing structure, for example, you dig into the fuse. Okay. Alright, again, just keep it clean. And we're gonna have to add a little bit more in the back. I like that. Cleaned out there. Alright, so we're just gonna have to work this one in a little bit more. And this is the biggest pain too. You want to need a rig, but getting that right in front of the wing, where the wing goes around the center line of the wing and the fuse, like that area there, for me, I always struggle getting that right. You do got to add a little bit more in here. And again, really, a little bit of alcohol on it really gets it to run nicely. Again, these tools are great. Jim Lee's just good people too to deal with. And he can machine just about anything for you. If you can dream it up, he can make it for you if you need something. Like I said, just a gentleman too. So you can also, if you don't know how to get a hold of Jim Lee, you can go on Stunhanger and go to the vendor section, and he's in there. But just really a pleasure to deal with. And again, simple tool, right? But it has a lot of uses. Anytime you're epoxy, putty, whatever. Even if you're doing work on your house, right? If you want to fill something in somewhere. All right, just need. All right, pretty good. And again, it's real easy to clean it off now before it hardens up. When it hardens up, sometimes it's a pain to get off. All right, so far so good. And now let's go to the back. Oh, no, I'll go do the other side first. Like I said, this works for me. Everybody's got a different way to skin the cat. This way works for me. me just get this. Suppose if you were really good with the syringe, you could probably get it without having to wipe it. I suppose. And the syringe opening is pretty small on this one. The syringes I have, which is kind of working in my favor with the small fillets already. So, but you could open them up a little bit. That never hurts. And again, this is the biggest pain point right here, is where the two fillets meet. I always struggle with getting that. Yep, got some spots that don't want to stick here. Hold on. See a little alcohol on it sometimes, and it'll just get the material to flow a little bit better. Alright, so we just got a little spot we got to touch up here. And again, that's the biggest point. If you ever look at people's models and you really want to see who's good at fillets and stuff, really look right down in this spot right here. That is probably the toughest part, to get it perfect with the two sides match up. I mean, if anybody has any tips on how to make that right, please let me know. I always just struggle at getting it right. Where you don't see little craters in it and stuff like that. It's always, for me, it's been a challenge. But on this one, I'm telling you, this is pretty close. This is the best I've ever done it. So. And again, I just want to get into the fillet area here. Just want to get into the horn area, I should say. Just get it done neatly down there. So much easier now to pick out if you have a spot that you don't like. Again, when this hardens out, we'll just take a little bit of spray can primer, just run it right through, just get it through that groove to give me a little bit extra, fill anything that's not right. So we're almost done here. We just got to do the bottom and then the rudder. Oh, let me just wipe everything. Alright, so it's getting a little bit hard, this stuff. It's been a while. So you do take a little heat to it, and it'll loosen it up just a little bit. Here we go, make it flow out a little bit better. So anytime you heat epoxy or anything epoxy based, it becomes thinner and starts to run. So you can use that to your advantage, but if you do overheat it, it will bubble and kick off. So, and you gotta, so everything is with caution. Okay. Okay. Not bad. Alright, let me just work this edge in here. Get a new paper towel. And just another tip, the selector size paper towels are just about perfect for modeling. So you're not wasting a whole bunch of paper towels and stuff, but just a little tidbit. And what you do sometimes just run a little bit of alcohol on the tip of this, and it'll really start to smooth some of this out. Alright, pretty good. Alright, one more fillet to do on this side here. Alright, let's see. All right. Again, heating it up really gets it moving nicely. And it doesn't take much, just enough to get it warmed up a little bit, and it'll run right down. Okay, pretty good. So that's kind of how it comes out. So let's see if I can get up close of it. If you can see the fillet, nice, tight, clean. You know, just gonna clean up this edge a little bit here around the horn, just to make that finished look. Sometimes your finger works good here, just to touch it in a little bit. And just looking for that finished look around that horn. You really can't see in there anyway because of the elevators are in the way. But again, I can see it. And it's just one of those nice finishes. Alright, so now we're going to do the rudder. So again, this is really handy like this. You could do the rudder upright, I guess. Let's see, can we go this way? Okay. Alright, so let's just move the camera a little bit. Again, I'm just going to warm up the syringe a little bit. Okay. Same process, just kind of working it in there. And really, you just got to watch at the end because there's a transition when the rudder fin meets the fuselage at some point. Where it kind of gets away from that fillet, so you got to just blend that in. Okay. One side done. Definitely a challenge to work in a small shop. All right. So again, you're just going to work it in. And there I was just blending in where it goes from the fillet to the fuselage flat side. Just gonna need a little bit more. And starting to get at the end of the working time of the super fill, so. And just the straight edge to clean it up a little bit. Just want to work around the leading edge of this rudder. And this is another one of those areas that if you look at people's planes, it's a tough area to work in. Really to get it right and perfect. You know. If you ever looked at it like Wendy's planes, these things were perfect in these spots. Sparky's very good at it too. Any of the top builders really do a nice job in these spots. Alright, so I just got finishing behind the horn here. I love the way that is. Just trying to make that look meet around on the other side. Okay, good. Just working this one area. I wasn't happy with this one area in the front of the leading edge. Sometimes just getting your finger around it helps. Okay. Just take a look over and make sure you're happy with it. Now I see one spot I don't love over here, but perfect. Again, that leading edge, anytime you get a leading edge and a trailing edge and a finishing point, that's really where, you really want to make sure it's good and right. And around the horns. So just take an extra second around here and I just kind of make sure I get it. And again, the leading edges. What you do is you can run your finger in alcohol. You got to clean it up a little. That works pretty well too. But I'm pretty happy with this. I'll see if we can get up close of it. But if you really see like that point right there, that's one of the toughest spots to get. And it looks like the fillets are laying down nicely. They're starting to lay out and smooth out. And you always got to watch that you don't put your hands in the fillets too, by the way. That's a little bit of ridge there. Okay. So that's how I do the fillets. Again, there are ways to, you can tape them up if you want. I just found the spot I didn't love, but put a little alcohol on my fingers and just rub it in. Just finish it off. What the alcohol does is let this run a little bit. So yeah. So if you get a spot you're not happy with, or you're like, it doesn't look great, you can just take a little bit of rubbing alcohol on your finger and then just work it in a little bit. Like right here, there's a little bit of an edge. This stuff will not stick to alcohol, and alcohol just kind of thins it out a little bit. See? Yeah, once it's been set up a while, so you can get away with doing this too. And just clean everything up with it. Just will let you clean everything up. And it's right about at the right time. So you see how long it took me to do this. It took me about, I don't know, 45 minutes or so to do this. And that's about when this stuff starts to harden a little bit. Like I say, just take a little bit on your fingertip and you can just kind of smooth anything in that you're not happy with. And again, like the leading edges. All right, that's pretty good. Let me just clean up the front ones. And again, it just really just cleans up that last little bit. Because you get a little pebbly surface on it sometimes in those spots. So a little bit of alcohol on your finger. Lacquer thinner works too, but alcohol is a lot less ferocious on your hands. So, and alcohol generally won't lift any finished paint. Okay, so. Again, what you do, you'll feel a slight pebbly bit on some of them, and you just run a little bit of alcohol over it, and then it's nice and smooth. And when you go to sand this out, you won't have it much easier to do, much smoother, much cleaner looking. All right, so that's how I do fillets. So, and you just want to wipe off any excess alcohol. Again, alcohol will evaporate. So that's how I do my fillets. All right, so next steps with this thing is pretty much done. All I got to do is, like I said, once the fillet's dry, I'll shoot some primer in the fillet areas, and then I'll sand that out, and then I'll just go over the plane lightly. Sand everything out, really clean it up well, get it as dust free as possible, and then we're going to look to put a coat of silver on it and we'll see what we got. Likely we'll have to sand all the silver off and then do a second application. But on the finishing stuff, I would, I mean, Windy is probably one of the better ones who's documented this. If you ever watch this stuff, the stuff he does is almost guaranteed to get you a great finish all the time. And he's got many tapes on the Walt Brunel channel. It's a good channel to watch a lot of them. But his stuff is just good, and his finishing method works. He uses dope. I use Class Coat epoxy paint. You just got to be careful with it because it could add weight on. But I've gotten it down where I spray it pretty much like a dope finish. And I will cover some of that when I get to that portion of it. And again, I will certainly cover the masks. I do have my buddy Cena right now laying out the masks for me. And I'll cut them on my vinyl cutter. And I'll show you how I lay them out and how I spray and, how do I unmask it. All right, so hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe.